Here we go, Deb. We're back another week, another recording,
Another Tuesday.
another Tuesday, this time at 4:30 in the afternoon, which either means that you are busy in the evening or we have guests from a different state on the East Coast, which that's the case today. We have our friends from the Mindset Podcast, Gabriel Russo and Anthony Valenzuela. What's up, guys?
Hey,
Yo, what's going on, guys?
Good to be here, guys. Good to see you again.
again, yeah, we got to explain that again, that we've talked to them twice. This will be our third time, right?
I
Yeah,
think
that is
so.
technically,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Once
think
on our
so.
podcast.
First time on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. We always love talking to you guys, and it's been fun following your guys' journey this whole time. But yeah, we were just talking. It was probably about 2 years ago, and I think it was around this time of the year too, because I think was it 2 years ago? I think we were talking about the Heat being in the playoffs around that time too. And again, we're in NBA playoff season right now, so I'm pretty sure it was around the same time of the year, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But and honestly, we like to talk. We like to tell people how we're connected to our guests when we first start the show. And we've known each other for a little while now, but I'm really trying to remember how we got connected with you guys. And I want to say it was through Dwight Taylor Sr.
Mhm.
I can't remember if
That sounds about right. Yeah, we had Dwight on our podcast, and I think when we had Dwight on our podcast, we heard that you all recorded somehow, some way, and we're like, oh, they're pretty cool too. Let's reach out to Josh and Deb. So that's how that happened, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It was a long time ago, but
a very long
yeah.
time ago.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's so yeah, I'm gonna give Dwight the credit because I'm pretty sure it was Dwight, and I think you're right. I think we saw him on yours, you guys saw him on ours, and then it's been fun because Deb, I feel like these two guys kind of embody what Connectable is all about, because our whole goal is to be relatable and to create connections between people. And because of these guys, we got connected to Cameron Dobbs, who's awesome, who's been on my other podcast and who's on Character Combine. We got you guys connected with Kevin Bracey and Daniel Thomas. We got you guys connected with Daniel Thomas. So
That's
all these
right.
different connections, and it's like, man, I just love talking to these guys because I think, like I said, they embody this idea of being more connectable and connecting with the world around you and networking and all that stuff. So I'm just excited to introduce this audience to these guys and all the great things they're doing. So I don't know. I'm going to stop talking for a second and let these guys kind of share their stories. So you guys tell us a little bit about who are Gabriel, Anthony, and what is the Mindset Podcast? How did you guys meet? All that stuff. Give us the background.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll share my little tidbit, and then Anthony will kind of follow pursuit. But I guess to give you a little bit of background, it's kind of interesting the way Anthony and I met. We actually met in high school, but you'd be surprised that we weren't all the best of friends. We were friends. We were close. I was on the varsity basketball team. I was a junior in high school. Anthony was a sophomore. He was on the JV. So we would rub shoulders in the locker room every so often. And, after high school, we kind of both went our separate ways. And like that was the last we heard of each other until, again, going back to the whole connecting thing. It was funny. One of our good mutual friends from high school was hosting this networking event. And we were both still very young, probably like freshmen or sophomores in college at that point. And we were kind of both getting started in our careers and our entrepreneurial journeys. He was, getting started with his family's real estate brokerage. I was kind of getting my feet wet with the marketing and media world. And we both knew that networking and meeting people was the name of the game, and we had to get out there. And we find each other at this event, and we were the only two that we really recognized. And we were obviously, like, at that point 17, 18, maybe 19 years old, super shy, and we kind of stuck to each other the entire night because we were just catching up, seeing what we had been doing the past few years. And then that one thing led to another. We hit it off, and we kind of reconnected and rekindled that friendship. And then one thing led to another. We would, grab coffee at Starbucks and just like trade books. I remember we would give each other certain books that we had read. And, oh man, you gotta read this one, you gotta do this one, you gotta listen to this podcast. And I think that went on for several weeks, if not months, Anthony, I think, before we finally decided to do something together. And like I had mentioned, we had a series of conversations and, lunches and dinners and different things that we would kind of just hang out and just chat and talk about what we wanted to do with our lives professionally, and what we wanted to do and what like success was and what this looked like. We had a lot of good mentors and business professionals in our life, within our basketball network that we had grown up in, and we were all very hungry to learn what this meaning was. And at that point, we were like, we got to do something together. We were thinking about starting a business, starting a clothing brand. We had no idea what we wanted to do. And at that point, I looked at Anthony. I'm like, for the past 2-3 months, we've been having all of these very intimate conversations about what success means, what is the mindset that people need. And if we take a look around, no 18, 19-year-old is really having these conversations with each other, nonetheless, even putting them out for other people to listen to. And, we were ignorant enough to kind of put ourselves out there and be, I guess, the pioneer, of our age group, if you will, in this entrepreneurial and mindset space. You look on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you got Gary Vee, you got Grant Cardone, you got all these big time names that are talking about entrepreneurship and success and what you need to do to change your life. But we felt like we were in a different stage because we were starting from scratch. All of those guys kind of had a reputation already. All of those guys kind of had some sort of resume that gave them credibility. And we thought that our position was a little unique to be able to give our audience some relatability with, hey, look, like we're doing this right here with you. We're along the journey with our audience, and we felt like it was suitable for us to invite guests like yourselves, other entrepreneurs and other business owners, and really all walks of life. We've had mental health therapists, nutritionists on our podcast, to talk about the mindset, right, and what mindset young people and older folks need to accomplish what they want in life. So that's my little 2 cents, Anthony. I'm sure you have something to add there. There's always two sides of the story, but
Yeah, no, I think Gabe hit it right on. Just to emphasize really the why of what we do, and that's always important, right? We always remind ourselves, and it's easy to forget why we started, and I think that happens to very large companies, small companies, and everything in between. And Gabe and I have seen the downfall of companies or organizations or groups or relationships that always forget why it is that they started. So we are constantly reminded of why it is that we started this podcast and why we continue doing it, because it's very easy to also finish and call it a day. But I think our why is so strongly rooted that it reminds every day of the important work that we have to do. So really the emphasis of the Mindset podcast is to spread with other young professionals throughout the world, throughout the country, here locally in Miami, but beyond, anybody who's willing to listen, of the mindset that takes these ultra professionals and very good people who are very successful to reach this level of success. So some of the questions we ask is, what's the secret? How'd you do it? If you could go back to 19 years old, what would you do differently? What are some obstacles you ran into that you wish you could have avoided? Like these very thought-provoking, to the point questions that are very practical, which I love that we ask very practical questions. I really changed lives. We have people all the time reaching out to us saying, thank you for this. You changed my mindset on this, or I was depressed. I was in a bad mood, but I listened to you guys, and the outcomes are always positive from what we hear. And that really makes us happy and reminds us of why we keep doing the great work that we're doing. So we're just pumped to be here and to share this with you guys.
That's awesome. We love it. We love the whole basis of your guys' podcast. And we've had similar topics on this podcast and on Character Combine. And then I have a podcast off to the side that I've kind of since stopped recording because I don't have a partner like Josh to hold me accountable. But just like, I like talking about the mental aspect of things, right? Like how it really is a huge deal with how we think about things and how we perceive things. And it can make a huge difference in a variety of things, whether it's your career, your personal life, just your day to day. I know it's very vague, but just the whole part. Have you guys read a book called Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer?
No, I haven't.
No. I've heard of Joyce Meyer though. I haven't read the book, but I've heard of her.
Yeah. And there are so many books about, the mind and whatever. I don't know, Josh, have you heard of that book? I read it a long time ago. I read it when I think I was like 19 when I read it. And, at that age, you're just like you guys just talked about, like, teenagers and just like, and I work with teenagers. And I remember I was babysitting and I was just like in a rut. and I was like a nanny that summer, and I just was like, this is not for me. And maybe that's why I don't have kids today. I don't know. This was not for me. And yet here I am, a school teacher. But I remember reading that book, and it just, for some reason, it talked about the mind and how you perceive things and how you have the power to switch how you think about things. And I read that book and I was like, oh my God, it is on me. Like that type of feeling, like it was just a good feeling. Anyway, that's just one. I just appreciate your guys's the basis of just the whole title of your podcast, the mindset. And I feel like I said, Josh and I, we like to touch on those topics. I love talking about anything that has to do with mental health, mind, and how you perceive things, and what the things you can do to change your life, because you have the power to do that if you want to.
Yeah. And we believe that everything starts with your mindset, like health, the way you look at life, the good things, like everything's really begins at the mindset, or your mindset, right? So we always preach of having like an optimistic mind, because there's different kinds of mindsets, right? So which one is right for you? I mean, that's unique to everybody, but generally it's one that's optimistic, one that's, fall down, get back up, fall down, get back up. That's the kind of energy that we want to spread. Like you guys do a great job of that as well when you speak on your podcast about mindset, about attitudes, right? That has to do a lot with sports. That's why I think we talked about it last time on Character Combine, of being an athlete is just such a great thing to experience, because it's so applicable to life, losing and winning and how to deal with losing. So it's great. Yeah. The mindset's really everything.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate, what you guys are doing and the space that you're doing it in, because you are connecting with young people who have a lot of ambition, who have a lot of dreams, who have a lot of desire. And you're trying to kind of help bring them along that journey with you guys. Because like you said, when you guys first started all of this, you guys were in that same spot that a lot of these kids who are graduating high school are just now entering, especially this time of the year, right? Like they have all these big dreams, but like, how do I connect point A to point B? I have no idea. I just know that I have this dream that I'm trying to accomplish. I don't know how to get there. And I don't know about you guys. You guys are obviously much more in the entrepreneurial world than I am. And you guys have probably read a lot more and listened to a lot more podcasts. But one of the things I hate with so much passion in my heart, is when you have these people that are really successful and you have someone that reaches out saying, hey, what do I need to do to get from here to there? And they're like, well, you just got to do it. What? That's not advice. That's a Nike slogan. What are we doing here? Like they don't provide any actual applicable advice. They don't even point them in the right direction. Like, well, I can't help you personally, but go read this, go look into this. They don't do any of that. They're just like, you just got to kind of grind. You got to hustle. It's like, that's not helpful to anybody. For some young kid who's like, I don't know what that means. And so the fact that you guys are doing this thing you're doing on your podcast and all the events that you guys do in Miami, like your connecting events, I just think it's awesome. And I love that you guys are doing that, because there's a lot of people that are successful that aren't willing to share that information, whether they're too busy or because they're too selfish and they think that there's not enough space for everybody to succeed. So I said a lot there, but that's why I hate that. It just drives me nuts. And so I love what you guys are doing, because it's obvious that you guys don't have that same mindset. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like Anthony mentioned, like we're an open book, right? We've had so many people reach out to us, asking, hey, I want to start a podcast, or I want to start this, I want to start a YouTube channel, I want to start, I want to be a real estate agent for, in Anthony's case, or, and we're always free to give, because there's always two sides of the equation, right? It's one, receiving the information, but then once I give you all that free information, you actually have to apply it. And that's where people get stuck. And I feel like, I mean, for Anthony and I both, I'm sure I can speak for the both of us, like we've reached so much more because we're so freely giving to people, that people see the authenticity, they see the transparency. We're not selling a course for $97 on our page, to become a podcaster. Like anyone can do it. It's just getting over that hump of, okay, like these are the steps, like we're giving you the steps to becoming this or to do this. Now you actually have to go do it. So I'm on the same boat as you, Josh. Like I've reached out to so many people, and some people are just like, yeah, like, it's a hustle, just put your head down and just do it. Or some people have been, hey, yeah, I read this book, or I watched this video, or, that's honestly selfishly part of why we started the Mindset Podcast, is to be able to get some of those answers from those people, right? And to give those answers to other people and to younger people. But yeah, it's just, no matter how much you give, at the end of the day, the person receiving that needs to be able to take that and actually run with it and actually put it into action. which I feel like 99% of the time, that's the part where people get stuck. They have all the self-help books, they have all the business books, they have all the courses, but they still have no result, no nothing. It's because they actually haven't put in the time or the second part of the equation to actually see the result.
Yeah. If I may, very quickly, Deb or Josh, did you guys ever take a class on like psychology or anything of that sort?
Yeah.
So, this is a really interesting psychology moment. Like to your point, Josh, I think about those people who we all know them, right? You ask for help and they say, just do it, or, just do it or whatever, right? Something super quick, kind of like a little selfish, vibes.
Sure.
And I think, wow, what a missed opportunity. How unfortunate, right? Because those people with that answer, you can pretty much assume that their mindset is like, all the success I have, let me keep it to myself. All the secrets, I want them because you're my competitor. You're my competitor. You can be my competitor. So why would I help you start a podcast to get so that's the mindset. And it's so unfortunate. I was for my birthday a couple years ago, I went to, you guys know Salt Bay, the little guy that has his restaurants that does his salting. If you're looking to break the bank, definitely recommend it. But a great experience nonetheless. It's fun. And I went with my family. And so he's famous for, having these good chunks of steak and then wrapping it with gold, like a gold little foil. So what you see coming out of the kitchen is a gold steak. Like it's just all gold. It's a yellow, very bright gold. And, my family and I are sitting there, not even thinking of ordering that gold steak. I mean, it's like $1,000. I kid you not. So we were like, wow, like that's literally $1,000 for a regular piece of steak. So we're like, absolutely not. But what we noticed is that the kitchen would not stop bringing out these meats, these pieces of meat with gold and coming out. I mean, we saw at least sitting there for about 2 hours in that restaurant, at least 25 that I could count steaks covered in gold, $1,000 steaks. And what I realized is that more or less, right, you get the analogy here, is like there's so much success to go around. There's so much money out there to go around that it's not finite. Like we can help each other out. We can give each other resources and tips and how to be successful, because the point is there's just so much of everything to go around for everybody. We don't have to keep things secretive and we know what works and we're just the only ones that are going to know how to work. Like we need to be giving and give out, and that's the mindset. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but I'm with you, Josh. Those people are not very fun.
They drive me nuts. And I think, I could do a whole episode on that, but it's just like, again, I'm like, what are we doing? Like someone's like literally, because someone reaching out to you, that's saying that they value what you bring to the table. Now I get there's some situations where someone, like you guys said, and I think you said it perfectly, like there are some people that are going to reach out and they're hoping for a quick fix to their problem. It's like, I can get to where you're at, the success you have because of, if I just do this one thing, and they don't realize, no, it's a lot of hard work and I can give you the steps, but like you said, Gabe, you still have to do the steps. And so there's definitely that piece of it, but there's, like you said, there's just so many people that are selfish. And like you said, there's plenty of money to go around. There's plenty of opportunities to go around. It's just, they don't want to do it. And that's one of the things I didn't mention this before we started recording, but one of the things that I appreciated about you guys is after our very first recording, I got a message. I don't know who runs your guys' social media account, but whoever does, I got a message immediately saying, hey, thanks for having us on. You should connect with Cam Dobbs immediately. You sent that recommendation. I was like, okay, I appreciate these guys, because they were not just saying, hey, let me get on the air for an hour and share everything I know. You're like, hey, we appreciate the opportunity. Now let us help you out and send an awesome person your way. And then I believe, Gabe, we spoke on the phone a while ago. I think it was Gabe, maybe it was Anthony. I don't know. I apologize if I'm getting you guys mixed up, but we talked because you guys were kind of at a point of your podcast and you're like, I'm not really sure how we're going to move forward with this or what we should do. So we talked for maybe about 15, 20 minutes. And at that point, I'm like, okay, these guys are going to be really successful in anything they do, but it's specifically this podcast thing, because you're reaching out for help and we don't even know each other that well, but you're like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm like, okay, these guys are going to be pretty good moving forward. And 100 episodes later, 100 plus episodes later, you guys are still doing it. So yeah, that's awesome. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. And so, but again, it's like, those are the kind of people you want to help, right? Or give your advice to, or give some thoughts to, because, you guys were helping us, we were helping you. And it's just it's a cool connection. And it's a bummer that some people miss out on that whole exchange.
Yeah. What you were saying, Anthony, just about how like there's enough there's enough business out there to go around. There's not like oh, this person's making this much money, so now if I go in that field, I can't make that because they're making all of it. No, it's the same analogy that I think it's hilarious when people get upset, like visibly upset at like, I guess celebrities, like, oh my God, they spent millions of dollars on this. Like they're so, it's like, okay, yeah, that's their money. Like they worked, like however they got it is what, that's their success. And so people just get weird about that. And instead of focusing on what they can do and ways that they can go after their passion and create their lifestyle. And once again, someone's final or middle chapter is not the same as someone's first chapter. It's like, you can't compare to like, how do I get there? You don't know how long it took for someone to get, to where they are. You have no idea.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's all perspective too, right? And that's something that I've in my, in our seasons of life, like that's something that I've been learning recently. And it's like kind of to your point, like I always like to say, you can't really, compare your seed to someone else's tree because they've been watering that tree for years, on end, and they've been nurturing it and doing what they need to do to then reap the benefit. Where you might just be starting right now, but you're comparing and seeing what they have on social media, but that's been 5, 10, 15 years in the works.
yeah.
And now you're thinking that you can have that because you're in the same industry or in the same realm, what have you. And yeah, it just goes back to, I think, being humble. And it's something that we talk about on our podcast a lot, is like being vulnerable. And like, again, like having that conversation with you guys is like, we're not sure, like we're hitting a fork in the road. We don't know what to do. What do you guys think? Like putting our ego aside and actually like seeking out help. And that's something that we do quite often. Anthony and I religiously are having lunches and breakfasts and coffees with people that we look up to, people that are much older than us. And it was actually a mentor of ours that told us that, and I'll never forget this. He's like, one of the biggest problems of people in your generation, you're talking to us, people between the ages of 18 and 25, even 30, is that they're too ashamed and too afraid and maybe even intimidated to ask their best friend's dad to lunch, to ask them how they became who they are, if they were someone that they wanted to become, right? And it's so true because a lot of us have friends that you go over their house and you're like, wow, like what does your dad do or whatever, and it's like, but I bet you won't ask him for coffee or anything to kind of just pick his brain on how he, like, you're always assuming. And I feel like that's such a valuable lesson for young people, and that's something that Anthony and I definitely took to heart, because we're at an age right now that if we do this consistently, by the time we're 30, we'll be in a much different place. And it's paid back so many dividends. Anthony can attest to that. And just having the network and the people that we can rely on, you guys, that we can always call and rely on because of the relationship and the rapport that we built, I think goes so much further than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing, because I'm thinking back to when I was younger. I probably would have done the same thing if I knew like one of my buddy's parents were really successful at something. There's no way I would have asked. You know what I mean? Just because you just know, like myself as a kid, there's no way I would have done it. But it's such a crazy thought the way you put that, because like that person's sitting right there while you're hanging out with your friends. They are like literally in the room next to you while you guys are playing video games or watching TV or whatever, and they have all this knowledge and it's sitting right there. And we just don't have that willingness to do it because of fear or whatever it may be. So that's a really interesting point. I like that.
Yeah. I just learned, I'm 35, and I just learned, I want to say maybe 5 years ago, to like start asking people like, how do you do this? Like, why are you here? Like at this place, or how, just basically asking for help on all aspects of my life, career wise, like anything. And so everyone's different. It just takes a while. I don't know if it's for me personally, I guess, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, anyone listening or any of you guys. I'm very hyper independent. And so it's not I know everything, so I don't need any help type of attitude. It's no, I'm going to figure it out because that's my issue. Or no, I'm just going to, and that could be, whatever. You can Google stuff. You are allowed to do things on your own, like, Google things and research on your own, but think about how much more helpful it can be if you do that and actually reach out and connect with others and talk to people and just try to get help in that way, so that when someone asks you one day, you can do the same thing for them.
Yeah, so here in Miami, hopefully you guys never have to experience this, but here in Miami, we say that driving is like going to war. So if you're driving your car, you're in the battlefield. So to use that same analogy and to stay there for just a second, so if you're in war and you're driving, turning on your turning signals to left or to go right is like telling your enemy your next move. So you just don't do it. Why would you tell your enemy your next move? So here in Miami, we don't believe in turn signals. I don't think I even know how to turn mine on. I haven't used it in so long, which probably
would do so
problem.
good there. Sorry.
Yeah, I say that to say that I love Miami, but that attitude I feel carries on into a lot of people's lives everywhere, not just Miami, but in a lot of places. That attitude of, again, kind of selfishness, kind of like, I want to keep as many good things for me, and not expose them to everybody else. But contrary to that, although many people have that attitude, that mindset, that philosophy, Gabe and I have experienced, and I'm sure you both as well, a lot of people actually are willing to help. One of my reservations starting out with the podcast and reaching out to people to be guests, I'm like, they're just gonna ignore me, they're not gonna answer, they're just gonna blow me off totally, say something totally out of pocket. But the opposite is totally true. I mean, everybody gave, I don't know what our success rate, our conversion rate, if you will, of reaching out and having people come on, but it's easily in the high 90s. I mean, it's incredible how many people are willing to come, mentor us, talk to us, be on the podcast. And then once they're on the podcast, we like to say they're part of the family. So from there on out, we reach out to them for coffee or just to go to an event, and they're more than happy to help us, mentor us, guide us. I mean, Josh and Deb, you guys are perfect examples of helping us. Like you said, you didn't really know us too well. We didn't know each other, but nonetheless, we jumped on a call, you guided us, you mentored us, and people are just really, really willing to help. I think it's a surprise to a lot of people. It was a surprise to me, but I think the more you put yourself out there, the more you realize, hey, people are willing to help you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Deb was saying, she's gotten a lot better about asking me, like, she's like, hey, how do I become a better podcaster? How am I becoming more like you, Josh? She's done a really good job of that over the last couple of years. So I'm glad that she was able to put her ego aside and just ask me for help. Yeah.
I've revealed this on our recent podcast episodes, but so I'm a teacher, but I'm also in massage therapy school right now on the weekends. So, and then my goal is to make that my side hustle. But I even going through that and getting into that different sort of profession, people who are taking those classes, a wide variety, right? Whether they're new like me and don't have a business yet, they're just learning, or people who do have businesses or their own private practice, they are taking classes to just keep up and stuff. Everyone is so willing to help, offering without me or just saying, hey, have you thought about this? They're willing to be if you go into it's just been amazing. So I've had the opportunity to see that recently with everyone, and that's everyone's own business. So can you imagine if people had the mindset of no, I'm not sharing you my secret, right, my techniques or my business approach or whatever. No, everyone is super helpful, so helpful, and just very willing. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a middle school teacher once tell me, and I've mentioned this on our podcast several times, and I'll never forget, she said, if you don't ask, they won't tell. As simple as that. And I don't remember exactly what she was referring to at that very moment, but it stuck with me because to all of your points, really, if we're right there in the living room, like you said, Josh, playing video games, but if we don't ask, they're not going to tell us. They're not going to come and, hey, do you want to know how no, we have to do our due diligence. And something that we always talk about in our podcast is failing forward, right? And we always like to ask a lot of our guests, what were some of your biggest failures? Because I feel like a lot of the biggest lessons came from the biggest failures. And we've seen that some of the most successful people that have come on our podcast are the ones that have the fall on your face failures that they're almost embarrassed to talk about. But that's what people need to hear to know that they're not alone, right? Because all of us have had failures, and all of us have had these different things that we go through that we might not be really excited to share about. But at the end of the day, that's what makes us human. That's what makes our character. That's what makes us grow each and every day. And kind of to your point, Deb, we feel like we're almost like we have like a life hack because we have all these people that were getting all of their failures, and we're like, okay, let me just take a left turn here because he took a right turn and he fell on his face. Like we're getting like kind of like the map to life with all these different individuals and entrepreneurs and people that have done life so much longer than we have. And really, you know, selfishly, that's what we do all the time because like we really want to know like how did you get to where you are, but also what can we do on our journey to avoid some of the failures that you had. And that's really the attitude and the mindset that we've adopted, and that we encourage all of our listeners and everyone really to adapt in their own lifestyle, because the more you can learn from others, the more you can avoid mistakes in your own life. You're only going to learn one of two ways. You're either going to make those mistakes yourself, or you're going to learn from the mistakes that other people have already made. So it's just choosing the one of two. And we usually like to, you know, learn from the mistakes of others to avoid some heartache. So,
man, that's so smart. Because I mean, there's so many people in every walk of life at every age that say that phrase. Well, I've got to make my own mistakes. I've got to learn. Like I have to learn the hard way. It's like, but do you really need to learn the hard way? Because you know, and some of those same people are the same people that want to get to success quickly. Like, you know, like you guys are talking about, it's like, if you're on the road and you know the person that you're speaking to, the person that's mentoring you has made 5 wrong turns on the way to the same destination, you could get there a lot more quickly if you don't take those same turns. Right. And so it's always been a weird thing to me, like when you have the opportunity to learn from people and you just choose not to, because there's this mentality that, well, I just have to learn by doing. It's like, I don't think that's true. I think that's just more stubbornness. I don't think that's I don't think that's a real thing, to be honest with you. Like, I think there's some things you can learn without, like, especially when you have people around you that have the map to let you know, it's like, this could be avoidable. I just don't think you want to.
Yeah.
Well, and the map is free, you know, the map, like, he was like, hey, it's right here.
Exactly.
Just ask me and I can, you know, and that's the part that a lot of people don't get, but.
Right. So I threw my hands up in agreement with you, and I'm starting to bang my equipment around. I gotta stop doing that. Keep the left hand down. Go ahead. I was just too excited about what he was saying.
Yeah. No, that's like to your point, Gabe, like that's in the school I'm at, it's like that we are learning. And that is what, when some people, like, that's what school is. So life can be school, if that makes sense. Like, you can have people teach you, you don't have to go through it alone. There are so many things I've already learned not to do for massage therapy, if you can imagine. Like, you know, it's like
those are no, I'm like, let's be honest, that sounds like a horrible thing for the person you're massaging. Like, the mistakes you're making are like
it's just that, I mean, and that's just, you know, like, it's just part of it. But like, just in life in general, like, you can get the same, you know, types of, you know, just advice. Like, here, let me, if I can give you one piece of advice, don't do this because this is what I did and this is what happened. And so, yeah, I think that's an amazing way to learn and to keep an open mind. And it's always good to have an open mind of, like, you don't know everything. I feel like I'm sure we can all think of someone who has the attitude of, I know everything. And so, yeah. So it's, I think, I don't know. I tried to have that mindset of, like, I don't know, like, I don't know, I'm still learning. And so that way you can have an open mind of, you know, taking things in and, you know, moving some things around. So,
yeah. You know, I was gonna mention too, one thing I think is so cool about what you guys are doing, and because you guys are starting at such a young age, the legacy that you guys are building and creating, and that one day you'll leave behind, is going to be pretty impressive, because it's starting at such a young age, and you guys have this mindset at such a young age, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. Like I said, I've listened to episodes, I follow you guys on social media, just to see like how, I mean, I feel like your stuff's always been better than ours, but like, it looks even like way, way better than what you guys used to do on social media. And just the quality of it is really impressive. And it's only over the course of a couple of years. And then all of the amazing things that you guys are doing in Miami, connecting with people, the events you guys put on, you know, all these different things. It's pretty cool. And one of our friends, Gabe, his name's Gabe Lemon, who I feel like you guys should be connected with, and he should be on your podcast for sure. The last time I spoke to him, he said something like, he's like, I want to leave a legacy that basically, I want to plant seeds that I never see get to grow. Like, I want to see, like, plant seeds where one day they'll become trees, but it's going to be so far down the road that like my life is over and I don't even get to see it, but that everybody knows that that seed came from or that tree came from the seed that I planted. He said it way better than I did, but you guys get the idea. Like the seeds you guys are planting now is going to have impact and legacy for people way, way down the road. And I think that's one of the most amazing things that you guys are doing, not just because of the podcast, but because of the, the networking events, which I want to make sure we talk about, because I think you guys have been doing a really good job with that stuff. But do you guys feel like, is that something on your mind, like not just the current present situation you guys find yourselves in, but down the road, like this stuff's going to have impact for generations? Like, do you guys think that way when you guys do something?
I'll take the first stab at it. I think it's what I realized actually the other day. I told Gabe about it. It's like, when we're talking about the podcast, like what we're doing is going to be on the web on the web world forever, which is crazy. We never thought about it like that. But this recording will go somewhere and it'll probably be there forever on YouTube or wherever it ends up. And that's pretty wild because my kids are probably going to be watching this one day, which is mind blowing. So I think that part of technology and how far we've advanced makes it a little bit easier to leave a legacy, because instead of my kids reading something that I did, they can watch it and listen to it, which I think is pretty interesting, right? But no, we appreciate the compliments. And I think legacy is something that we think about. I think about often. A great analogy that I love, and I forgot who shared this example, but living life and life in general is like writing a book. From the moment we're born to the moment we die, the book opens and the book one day will close for everybody. And everything in between is what we write in that book, those chapters that our lives make up. So the question then is, what's your book going to look like? And it's totally in your control. That's what I always tell people. You hold the pencil to your book. In other words, you hold the power to your own life, what it's going to look like. My hope is that for everybody listening and for everybody on this call is that when our book closes, because it'll come one day, that whenever somebody else opens it, a couple days, couple years after that time comes, whether it be our kids or kids' kids, that when they start reading the book and start going through the chapters of Josh, of Deb, of Gabe, of Anthony, they're like, wow, look at all these great things that they did when they were alive. Look at this initiative. Look at that's powerful. And at the end of the day, who are we if we don't leave anything behind for other people to start and to take initiative? So legacy is something deep, and sometimes it could get a little bit morbid when we talk about death and living life with a sense of urgency, because we have to remind people sometimes, at least I do, it's like, hey man, a lot of young people now are just walking like tomorrow's guaranteed. A lot of people are walking around like the world owes them something, and that attitude, that mindset, I see it a lot with young people especially, and it's just so wrong. It's just so unfortunate. So it's reminding them, hey, we're gonna die one day. Like, live life passionately, live life with some sense of urgency. Like, do something, be passionate. You're here for a reason. Both Gabe and I were people of faith, and we believe that God has us here for a reason. So let's make it worth it. I'll finish with this and I'll pass it on to Gabe. But one of the things that kind of scare me a little bit, in a good way, kind of put some fire under my feet, is I do believe that when I pass away, when everybody passes away, we're going to be shown what our life was like, which we know, and then we're going to be shown what our life could have been if we lived up to our potential. My hope is that both of those images look exactly the same, that I lived my life according to my fullest potential, the plans that God had for me. That's my goal. That should be everybody's goal. What I would hate to see is the life that I lived compared to the life I could have lived, and it's not there. It's not there. It doesn't click. That's scary to me. And knowing the fact that tomorrow could be it kind of makes me excited about what I'm doing right now, and makes me go all in into this podcast, to this conversation, to dinner. I'm all in on dinner. I'm all in on this. If I'm watching a basketball game, I'm all in. Like, it's just being present in the moment, I think, is extraordinarily powerful. But that's my 2 cents on that legacy thoughts that I have. But Gabe, you want to chime in?
Yeah, for sure. Legacy is definitely an interesting, topic of conversation. And to kind of piggyback off of Anthony's, book author analogy, someone actually told me once, like, you're not the character of your book, you're the author of it. Again, kind of, ranting off of that same analogy, is that it's true. Like, you have the power of what you want to do. And what we were talking about just a minute ago, so many people are wanting something that maybe someone else has, but they don't understand that they have the ability to do it themselves. And it's almost like, why would you want what someone else has when you have a destiny, you have fate, or something planned. God has a plan for your life that's divine, that's only orchestrated for you, but you're over here worried about what this person has and fantasizing over what they have. And that's something that I think about a lot. And it's just, legacy isn't something that young people are thinking about nowadays. And it's something that, like, to Anthony's point, we feel like we're walking on clouds sometimes. And it's scary to think that, tomorrow could be our last day. But if tomorrow was your last day, would you be okay with today? Would you be okay with what you've done up until now? And I think, at least for me, and I think even for Anthony, I think it's safe to say that we are. I mean, if today was our last day, if we jump off and we get hit by a bus, or get in the mail, like, that would be, I think I'd be happy with what we've been able to accomplish and the lives we've been able to impact. But that doesn't mean that we're not done. I think each and every day is a new day, and I feel like the more we can put into that day, and the more impact and people that we can touch, um, even if it's just on a podcast like this, I feel like so many people are overlooking the little things because they want the grand, they want the big, they want all these things, but they're ignoring the little steps that it takes to get there. And it might just be an hour-long podcast that you need to, dedicate, and, like Anthony mentioned, focus and be present. um that's really what I try to strive for every single day. And as for leaving a legacy for the people, long after me, I hope that people look back and they read my book and they watch these podcasts and they listen to my voice and they see all the things that I did, and they might feel inspired um to be better, right? I always strive, I want to be as good as I can be. And my father always told me, like, you should be better than me. Like, this is why these are generations. And I really hope that my kids one day are going to be better than I was. And that's the legacy that I hope to leave behind. So
I love it. No, those are both great answers, and I think it's obvious in the way you guys conduct your business and do everything you guys do. It's obvious that that's at the forefront of your mind, and so I just appreciate that you guys have that mindset, and that, again, so many people are benefiting from that mindset as well. So I think that's really cool. I have to point out though, Gabe, you made the joke about or not the joke, you made the comment about being hit by a bus when you walk out. That has a different meaning after what Anthony said about the traffic in Miami. Like, now I'm like, they actually could get hit by a bus when they leave this place.
Yeah,
I'm concerned. I'm panicked for you guys.
it's a very real reality here in Miami. It's no joke.
I know. Usually it's like, oh, a funny joke. That's not a joke. I'm nervous. I'm nervous for these guys, Deb.
I love it.
So the term YOLO. So, like, my one of my coworkers and I, we changed it to Yo Last. So instead of you only live once, you only live a short time. I don't know why we changed it to that. I think we just I think it has more meaning, because of course, you only live once, but how about it goes by so fast. It's a short time. So whenever we have a moment of you know what, Yo Last, when we're trying to make a decision about something,
I love it.
In terms of should I do this? Should I, and just, same thing with me going back to school, for a short time, just to learn something new. And I'm loving it so far. So I have to keep telling myself that, I don't know what I'm capable of until I try it. I don't know what my true potential is. And I'm a big believer in evolving. I say it so many times. So Josh smiles. Yeah. Talk about it all the time. It's my thing. And so I think it's okay to always try new things, and you never know there's certain times in your life where you're it's time to switch it up or time to change gears. I can feel it sometimes stirring within me. And so that's when I move to change a gear, not change my entire life, but I'm okay taking that step of trying something new. And I usually know pretty early on that yes, this is what I was supposed to do, and so I try to use that term to make it help myself make a decision if I want to try something new or do something crazy or whatever. I'm Yo Last. You only live a short time.
And to touch on that, something that I really hate too, and to go back to things that we hate, Josh, is just when you're talking about quality of life, right? Especially in the whole entrepreneurial and business world, all these gurus on Instagram and TikTok, it's if you're not hustling 80-hour weeks and you're not working till 2 a.m. and you're not burning, the midnight oil during the weekend, like you won't be successful. And it's like, okay, that might be a reality for one person, but yeah, you might show up at 40 and you're successful and you're a billionaire, but what did you do for the last 40 years? You just were in your room neglecting your family. You were missing the barbecues, missing the graduations, missing the baseball games because you were building an empire or a successful life. Where I love to talk to other entrepreneurs and be like, listen, you don't have to do that. You can be successful and still enjoy your life, still have a quality of life, still log off at 5 or 6 o'clock and enjoy your Saturdays and Sundays with your family. There is a version of that. And I feel like we live in this hustle culture where people are constantly being driven this narrative of like, if you are not doing X, you will not be Y. And it's just like, to me, it's very frustrating because there is a version of life, of a quality of life out there that you can make and formulate and adjust the way you want it, to have the schedule that you want, to work as many hours as you want, to still enjoy the good things in life, and I think that's so important for people to listen to. I know I wish I listened to it earlier. But just to touch on that, your last kind of analogy, I think it's, yeah, we only live a short time, so you pay attention to what you're spending your time on.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I tell myself too, work smarter, not harder. Like, yeah, exactly. I'm trying to figure out ways to like, okay, what life do I want to create? And how do I get there without killing myself? And again, like I want to be able to spend my life, and I'm a workaholic, don't get me wrong, but I've still found a way to balance hanging out with friends on certain nights. Like I felt like I take a night or two off during the week to like not plan anything, to like, I'm not doing any, I'm hanging out with friends tonight, whether one shows up or 50 of them show up. Like this is my designated time, because friends have been a huge part of my life over the last 10 years, ever since I moved to Sacramento, like huge. So work smart, work smarter, not harder. And I think you should, make sure that you at least get some human interaction in your life, and not, like you guys say, burn the midnight oil and hustle and grind. Like, what kind of legacy are you leaving in that aspect?
Yeah. Now, that being said, these guys do a lot of things, and we follow all of it. And like I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I want to make sure we touch on it before we get out of here. All of the, and I please forgive me, I can't remember the name of the event, but the networking events that you guys host. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell me the name that I can't seem to remember right now, and then like why you guys started it, and then what's been the response like from the community.
So it's very simple. Mindset Meetup. You can't forget that. It doesn't get easier than that, Josh.
I'm old, guys. I did forget. Got 2 kids. I'm old. It's my own fault.
Mindset, and we just put it together, called it a day, and did a Mindset Meetup. So this is really interesting, and I think it was part of the advice that we were given by Josh. I think when I called you a couple years ago, is that Gabe and I, we wanted to diversify the podcast. We were ambitious about also monetizing the podcast if we could, if the opportunity presented itself. Not our priority, but hey, if it comes, why not? We welcome it. So we said, okay, we started this podcast. We built our brand. A fair amount of people know us here locally about podcasts, and we ventured off and did a couple things. And I'll kind of run you through some of the things we ventured off to do. One, we started selling merch, which was very exciting. We would put, inspirational messages like fail forward, different things, cool designs. Gabe was the mastermind behind all the hip and modern ideas for the shirt. So we sold shirts. It was awesome. Hats, keychains. It was great. All right. We were able to make some money from that. And the other thing that we started to do is Mindset Meetups. And we said, wow, what a great opportunity to bring this community that's already listening to our episodes, that's already invested in who we are as people, invested in our guests. Let's bring them together. Let's have some drinks, cocktails, laid back, cool place. Let's do it. So we did it, and it's been very successful. And we try to do it every quarter, every other quarter. It's been a little bit difficult with me out of town in Gainesville. Now I'm back, recently graduated, but it was a little bit difficult these last 2 years. So
Congrats.
Thank you very much. Go Gators. We kind of slowed down a little bit on how frequently we would do it, but nonetheless, the idea of the Mindset Meetups is to bring a community that already exists virtually bringing them together in one place under one roof to network and to get to know one another. And they've been awesome, just awesome. People who love us, people who we love coming, people who we don't know coming to meet us. Just a 10 out of 10 experience. And yeah, we've in a couple occasions been able to monetize it with sponsors who want to sell their products to this group who are target audience or audience. And they come, they have their little table, they pay us, which pays not only for the expenses, but then some, which Gabe and I have been able to pocket, which is a pretty cool, feeling to have. So yeah, it's been great. Gabe's been a great partner in it. We always help each other out. But yeah, Gabe, am I missing anything other than that they're super cool to do? I'm so excited to have the next one.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking now, like, when are we going to do the next one?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
No, I think you hit it on the head. Going back to, your why, right? And, this is a really big part of it, because like I was mentioning it in the beginning, the way Anthony got reconnected was at an event. And we thought it was very important. Like, if we were presented with the opportunity to reconnect, and if it wasn't for that event, if maybe I got sick that day and I didn't go, or that event didn't happen, we would not be here right now. And, Anthony and I were like, it would be so cool for us to think back, 3, 4, 5 years from now, and someone hit us up and be like, dude, I found my wife at your event. I met her, we talked, we grabbed a beer, and like now we're married with a kid on the way. Or like, oh my God, I found my business partner, we met at your event. Like, that's really what it was all about. And that was kind of like a really, it was a full circle moment for us, really, to be able to have these mindset meetups, to be able to present that opportunity to other people, because we were presented with that opportunity, and we're forever grateful for that opportunity. And we try to catch every networking event possible. But it was in our best interest, and we really wanted to, again, go back to our why, to be able to present, that opportunity, and put these like-minded individuals in the same room, because we thought that magic could happen when all those people were together. So, since then, we've been able to kind of bring on some guest speakers that we do live interviews with, and it's pretty cool. We have, some different beer sponsors and different people that we kind of bring on. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's really what the whole idea behind those mindset meetups were, to kind of get that group of people together and to give others that opportunity to meet different people. So
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. And speaking of which, I almost said this earlier, but I had to just scroll through Instagram real quick, just to confirm, because I wasn't ready to take this big swing. Gabe, you got engaged in the fall.
I did.
Congrats, man. I almost did it without any research. I'm just gonna say it because I'm pretty sure you did. Like, I wasn't bold enough to do it because that could go very awkward. So congrats, man. Speaking of like meeting someone that meeting someone you fall in love with at one of these events, you did. Not the event, but you found someone, which is awesome for you, man.
I did. Yeah. No, we're super excited. We've been together for gonna be 7 years now, actually, in December. And it's funny, I was actually scrolling through Instagram, and someone sent me something, and it was like, some of the most successful individuals, on the planet have, I don't know, someone's like said, oh, when I got married, my business doubled, or my business became this much successful. And that's obviously not the reason why I got engaged. But it just goes to show that when you have a good partner in life, in business, whatever it is, the success will follow. And I'm super excited for this next season of life, of getting married. It's definitely an exciting one. Anthony, Mr. Politician / Mr. Realtor, is going to be helping us find our home pretty soon.
Nice.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we're really excited for this next phase of our life. And I honestly, without a doubt, would not be here without my fiance, because she's been by my side at all of our events, supporting me, supporting us with everything, giving her input, giving her opinion. She herself is a mental health counselor, mental health therapist. So, very much an advocate for the mindset and the mental health aspect of all that. So she's fully on board. And, I wouldn't be here without her support. But yeah, thank you again for the congratulations. We're very excited.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. That's interesting too, that you said that, how much more successful the businesses can be when you have a spouse that supports you and builds you up like that. That being said, I would love to meet the person who's like, I got to get engaged because my business is struggling right now. We got to do something. Because like you said, you didn't do it for that reason, but I bet you someone out there did. We need to interview
like,
that person, Deb.
I gotta find a wife because I need some money in the. No.
Exactly.
There's definitely someone out there.
Hey man, if you find them, send them our way because I would love to have that interview. That would be amazing. Yeah. And so Anthony, you're going to be doing the helping out the home. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. So that I think that's a very unique situation. So I got my real estate license when I was 18, 22 now. So I've had it for a couple of years and been practicing. When I would come home for the summers, I would have my own clients and I would learn how to do it. So I have some transactions under my belt, currently a few already. And it just so happens that Gabe, well, I'll finish that thought. Gabe is, of course, going to be getting married here this year. So I'll help them find a home, hopefully, or an apartment to rent. We'll figure that out, but definitely help them in that transaction, make it as smooth as possible. But what's also interesting, honorable mention to this point, is that I'm in an interesting age because a lot of people like Gabe, who are, in their early mid-20s, late 20s, are now making big moves in their lives, looking to purchase a home or rent somewhere. We're getting married. So now is when I have a lot of friends, which is really cool, reaching out and asking for help in their transactions, which of course has never happened before. But it just makes sense that, the circle that I'm around knows that I'm in real estate and they trust me enough to help them with their transactions. So pretty cool time that I'm living right now. Very excited.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
Exciting. Yeah. Josh, I didn't realize how young, I forgot how young they were. I forgot how young you guys are because you guys are so mature. In my head, not that you guys look old or anything, but I'm like, they've got to be our age or older. They're like way more mature than us. So like, I forget. And when you said your age just now, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember when when we were talking to you guys a few years ago, I remember thinking, oh my God, they're so young. It's just like, but it's just a testament to like, you guys are just very like, this is where you're supposed to be, like the things that you're talking about. And just, you can speak to people close, like people closer to your age, like the young, like, it's just a really good thing that you guys are doing. So,
well, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. And, one thing that we've taken from your podcast, from Character Combine, was our 2 warm-up questions that you guys started, and we're like, man, that is really cool. So we stole it from you guys, and we've been using it ever since, every single time. And I think, Deb, I faintly remember, I believe, I forgot if it was Dwight Taylor Sr., somebody, one of your episodes, you asked him like something along the line. So forgive me if it's a little blurry, but it's like, if you were to go to another planet or go to the moon, or aliens were coming and you had to bring something or someone with you, and you can only pick one person. I forgot it was a person or a thing, but nonetheless, I think I would take, if somebody asked me, if you had to go to another planet, and you would stay there and live there, die there, and you could take a couple people, I would venture out and say, I'll take you guys. I think we'd be a great group to figure out how the heck to survive in a different planet. So just wanted to put that out there.
Well, that's like the best compliment ever.
I know.
I'm going to clip that and send it to my wife. Like, hey, see what these guys said about me?
Yeah. I think Deb, I'm sorry, Deb, what you had mentioned in the podcast was things. And I think that person said toilet paper or something like that, which was very good answer. I forgot who it was. Too. Yeah,
that's so nice. I'm thinking like, oh, he's gonna say Gabe or like someone in his family. I didn't think he would say us. I love that.
I know.
Imagine us 4. We'd be a dynamic.
I think we could survive. I think
we'd do it. We'd figure it out.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm speaking for our podcast. You guys would have to do a lot of the work. I'm just letting you know right now, you're making a horrible mistake. But we appreciate the compliment. Hey, Deb, if you think I'm wrong, let me know.
We would definitely have fun and have endless conversations.
There we go.
Would figure something out. I probably would wander off, but I would figure something out in the meantime. I'd entertain you guys, whatever. I don't know, but like we would figure it out. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Yeah,
it would be fun for sure. The entire time. Yeah, if we survive, a great podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great idea. Podcast on the moon.
Hey, there we go. We've joked before, if Deb ever went to prison, we would still try to figure out a way to make the podcast work. It was like 15-minute phone calls.
Josh is convinced that I'm a murderer and I murder all my boyfriends. He's convinced that their bodies are somewhere that
I'm not even gonna go down this road, guys. These guys have places to be. I can't even do this. This is a whole nother episode about your criminal background. but we're
It's
gonna
funny.
skip that right now.
It's funny. I recently got a cold plunge, which is all the rave now, which
Oh,
I don't know if you
nice.
guys have heard of it, but I've actually been doing it for a few years, and they recently came out with like these actual tubs that like are made for this. So I got one, I invested in it right away.
Nice.
Best investment ever. And I joke with Anthony, I'm like, dude, we got to do a podcast in the cold plunge. Like, this is gonna be like
Ooh,
the best thing ever. It's probably gonna be like 4 minutes long because no one can last in that thing.
Yeah.
But that's got to happen at one point. So I'm sure you'll see something soon.
That'd
that's
be
a
great.
great idea. Okay, so do you have? So it sounds like you have the one that you can adjust yourself, like the temperature.
Yeah, so it's a temperature adjusted,
Okay.
specifically made for cold.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing ever. I mean, it comes like a little top with like its own little thermostat and its own filter. Literally, all you need to do is just plug it into like a regular outlet, and there's like a little app that you can download, and you can, regulate the temperature from your app. And honestly, I've been doing it for close to, it came in like maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago.
Nice.
I've been doing it for close to 3, 4 weeks, and it's awesome. Like, again, talking about mental like obstacle, that is such a like a mental breakdown that you have. It's really something that you have to do to get used to it. But even like the physical difference I've felt like just in my mood, in my attitude, in my sleep, so many things. So if you're watching this, listening to this, definitely consider taking an ice bath, a cold plunge, cold shower. It'll change your life.
So I got to ask before we get out of here, what's the how long and what's the temperature that you typically go at?
So I've been working my way down. Right now I'm about 48 degrees to 50 degrees. It goes down as low as 39, which I don't know why I did this, but the day I got it, I put it to 39 and I tried it, and I couldn't last more than 30 seconds. And it literally feels like your skin is coming off. Like it feels like your skin is peeling off. It hurts. It burns your body.
Yeah.
But it's like that tingling sensation with like because it circulates everything. It's a natural disinflammatory or anti-inflammatory, and it helps with so many things. But right now the temperature's around 48, 50, and I typically stay between 3 to 4 minutes. Research says that if you stay a total of 11 minutes per week, you're getting the full benefit of what the cold plunge has to offer. So I do it between like 5 to 6 times a week, between 3 and 4 minutes, and it's a little bit more than 11 minutes, but it's awesome. It feels so good. It's like one of those things that you do right in the morning, right after like a nice workout, and it's like the hardest thing you'll do all day. So everything else in your day just feels so much easier. And it's really a mental break, but it's worth it.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that next episode where you guys are both just shivering in the water trying to get a podcast out. We look forward to it.
I'll be in the hot tub. Gabe will be in the cold plunge.
I was gonna say Anthony's been very quiet during this whole segment.
Yeah.
Like he did not.
I haven't signed
He
off
hasn't come
on
over
that.
yet. Yeah, he hasn't come over yet.
I understand
He
why.
graduated 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, and he hasn't come over yet. He's scared.
Yeah.
So
But just real quick, I do just want to say, Josh, Deb, thanks so much for having us on again. You guys are incredible people. We feed off your energy. I'm so excited at 8:44 p.m. here in Miami. I'm just so happy. Just very content able to see you guys and chop it up. So we're in your corner. We'd love to have you guys back on our podcast and just keep going back and forth, back and forth. I think it'll be really cool. But thank you guys so much. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, like I said, we keep
Yeah.
saying it, and people are probably irritated, but we love what you guys are doing. We appreciate what you guys are doing, and just the way you're impacting the people around you, and through social media beyond that too. So we're big fans, and yeah, anything we can do to help you guys out. Not that you guys need our help, like you said, Deb. They're younger than us. They're way more successful. Like they don't need us. You know what I mean?
we do, and to echo what Anthony said, thank you so much again for having us on. And it's crazy because like we're so far, but I feel like we're so close.
Yep.
Sometimes, especially like on these conversations and on those phone calls, like we're literally like on polar opposites of the United States. And it feels like we're next door neighbors. So thank you again so much for making us feel like we're at home, and having us on. And like Anthony mentioned, we'd love to have you guys back on. And thank you for all the guidance, the mentorship, the advice. we do need you guys. We need more people like you guys in this world to set the example. So we appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you so much, guys. We always feel good when we talk to you guys. So we appreciate it. Before we get out of here, where can they follow you guys? Where can they get the podcast, websites, all that stuff? And obviously, if someone's listening and they're in your guys' area, but they weren't aware of all of the cool, meetups and stuff you guys do, give us everything.
Yeah, so our Instagram is at the Mindset Podcast. You'll find pretty much everything on there. If we're having a mindset meetup or any type of event or meetup, that'll be the first place you'll find it. We don't have a website currently, but we're working on that. But you can find all of our episodes on either Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just type in the Mindset Podcast. You might have to put either Anthony's name or my name to follow that, because there's a bunch of mindsets in the podcast world.
Not in our world.
But
there's only one. Just want to make that clear.
Appreciate that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
You're the only mindset podcast that I know. That's it. It's just you guys. So just saying.
The algorithm is just unfortunately not in our favor sometimes. But yes, we are the only mindset podcast. So we'll leave the record straight on that.
Perfect. Well, awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much. And we just look forward to continuing to follow everything that you guys are doing and just all the continued success. So again, congrats on the graduation, Anthony. Gabe, congrats on the engagement, and good luck with everything moving forward, guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.